Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. There was a village at the edge of the northern woods where colors once lived brighter than anywhere else on earth. People said the sky above it was always painted with gentle hues of rose and amber, and the river that wound through its heart shimmered like melted sapphire whenever sunlight touched it. But all of that changed on the night the crystal fox passed through the valley. No one saw it clearly, only a pale glimmer slipping between the trees, like moonlight learning how to walk. Yet when morning came, everything was wrong. The sky was still sky, the river was still river, the mountains still stood tall, but the colors were gone. Not dimmed, not faded, gone. Leora loved color more than anything else. As a child she collected fragments of it. Autumn leaves, blue riverglass shards, wildflowers tied with twine. She said they helped her remember what the world actually looks like. But when the colors vanished, she was the only one who didn't laugh it off. She woke before sunrise hoping to catch the first light of day. Instead, she found a horizon washed clean of warmth. The sun rose pale and empty. Even flowers at her feet looked like ghosts. "This isn't dawn," she whispered. "This is something stolen." Her grandmother appeared behind her. "Child," she said softly, "you should come inside." "What's happening?" Leora asked, voice trembling. The old woman's eyes were gray instead of chestnut. "The crystal fox has awakened," she said. They walked toward the village square. "Long ago," her grandmother began, "a fox was born from winter's first frost. Its fur was made of crystal, clear enough to shimmer with the world's colors." Leora listened, heart pounding. "But like all spirits, the fox had a shadow," the grandmother continued. "And that shadow was hungry. For warmth, memory, and yes, for color." They reached the square, where villagers stared fearfully at baskets of gray vegetables, gray linens, gray everything. "In the legends," the old woman said, "there is only one way to stop the fox's shadow. You must follow it into the forest, find its heart, and return what it has taken." The village filled with panic. Children cried because their toys looked wrong. Painters stared at blank palettes. Even rising bread looked like ash. Leora tried to remember colors: blue river glass, gold wheat, green pine needles, her mother's red scarf. But even the memories dimmed. "No," she whispered fiercely. "I won't forget." She looked toward the pale line of the northern woods and felt the decision settle into her bones. "I'm going after it," she told her grandmother. "No one has ever returned," the old woman said. "Then I'll be the first." The grandmother pressed a smooth pebble into her palm, faintly glowing blue. "It still has color," Leora gasped. "Barely," her grandmother said. "But keep it with you. It will remind you what you're fighting for." The moment she stepped under the branches, the air grew warm and strange. The forest was silent, too silent. Trees stood pale as bones. Moss was only shadow. Leaves crunched like broken shells. The blue pebble grew warmer in her hand. Then she saw it. Standing on a fallen log, tail curling like moonlit frost, was the crystal fox. His fur shimmered faintly. Its eyes glowed soft. But beneath its paws, its shadow slithered, pulling color from the world like threads from a tapestry. "Wait!" Leora called. The fox paused just a heartbeat, then vanished into the pale trees. Leora clutched her pebble and ran after it. The deeper Leora walked into the forest of white, the more the world blurred. Pale trees stood like skeletal silhouettes, and the air felt thin, as if the colorless world had forgotten how to breathe. But the blue pebble in her palm pulsed softly, a faint heartbeat of color. She found the first sign of the crystal fox, a single shimmering footprint, shaped like a starburst, glowing faintly with frost light. But inside it swirled a pool of darkness, alive, shifting, hungry. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Its shadow steals what it fears losing. What could a spirit fear?" Leora followed the delicate trail of frost footprints deeper into the woods. The deeper she walked, the stranger the world became. Shadows leaned the wrong way, Trees looked smudged, half erased. And then she realized there was no sound. Branches broke silently beneath her boots. Her whisper vanished into nothing. The fox's shadow wasn't just stealing color. It was stealing sound. A shimmer flickered ahead between the trees. The fox was close. A clearing appeared, hollow, silent. At its center grew flowers that were not flowers anymore. Their shapes remained, but every trace of color had been drained. The blue pebble pulsed sharply in Leora's hand. She looked up and saw movement, frostlight slipping between the trees. The crystal fox stepped into view. It was smaller than legend, delicate as winter breath, its crystalline fur catching what little light the world still held. But its shadow, vast, rippling like a pool of ink, stretched unnaturally long behind it. Leora slowly held up the pebble. "I know you didn't mean harm," she whispered. "Spirits don't take, unless they fear losing something." The fox's ears flicked. Its shadow surged, draining even more color from the grove. "No, wait! No, wait!" The fox flinched and vanished into the trees. Only its shadow lingered a moment longer, shivering, before seeping into the earth. Leora chased after it, but the forest shifted unnaturally. The trees realigned to form a narrow corridor. Then she struck something invisible, a wall of air, solid like glass. "It's a doorway," she whispered. "Part of its shadow." She pressed the blue pebble against it. Color rippled across the barrier, and it dissolved. Leora stepped through. The chamber beyond was unnatural, a hollow dome of pale trunks. Objects floated silently within it. A wooden toy soldier, pink ribbon, painter's brush, a fisherman's scarf, a blue ceramic bowl, all drained of color, all stolen memories. Leora touched the toy soldier, and the chamber filled with a brief echo of a child's laughter. A memory, fading. "You're collecting what you're afraid to lose," she whispered. "The fox isn't the thief. The shadow is." A shimmer moved deeper in the woods. Leora tightened her grip on the pebble. "I'll follow you," she murmured, "and I'll bring back everything you lost." She stepped into the deeper shadow. Leora stepped deeper into the strange forest realm where the crystal fox's shadow lived. The air shifted from cold to warm to nothing at all, and the ground beneath her turned into a pale, rippling sheet of shadow. Her own shadow no longer moved with her. She had crossed into the boundary where memories lived and light faded. The trees stretched unnaturally, bending inward as if listening. The forest floor turned smooth and pale, rippling like shallow water. Leora realized she had entered the living space of the fox's shadow, an unstable world made of stolen memory and fear. Her pebble pulsed faintly, guiding her forward. Faint humanoid shapes emerged from the trees, tall, paper-thin silhouettes made of drifting smoke. They had no faces, only presence. Lost memories, echoes of stolen meaning. They gathered around her, drawn to the faint color in her pebble. "I'm here to return what you lost," she whispered. The shapes trembled, then drifted aside, opening a path. Leora followed it. The path opened into a clearing with a silent pool. It reflected colors that no longer existed in the world. Blue ribbons, red scarves, golden petals. Leora held her pebble toward the water. The reflection of blue rose like mist and merged into the pebble, restoring its light. She felt warmth in her chest, the memory of a clear sky. The shadow realm shivered in response. Something had felt the color return. A creature emerged from the trees, a fox-shaped body of twisting black mist, the fox's shadow given form. The shadow fox, its eyes glowed flat white. It lunged, but the pebble's blue light froze it mid-leap. It screeched silently and dissolved as Leora ran onto a new path. The path ended in a cavern-like hollow. At its center lay the crystal fox, curled protectively around a glowing shard, a fragment of dawnlight. Leora approached gently. "You kept it safe," she whispered. "That's why the world lost its color. You were afraid." The fox nudged the shard toward her. She lifted the pebble, and the dawnlight merged with the blue, becoming a warm blue gold. The fox brightened at last. The cavern trembled. Memory shapes filled the walls, trembling with fear. The shadow fox returned larger, stronger, twisting with hunger. The crystal fox pressed against Leora. "I won't let it take anything else," she whispered. The shadow fox lunged. The pebble exploded with blue-gold light, brighter than dawn. The cavern exploded with blue-gold light as the shadow fox lunged. The crystal fox pressed trembling against Leora, while the monstrous shadow twisted violently, frozen in the radiance. For a heartbeat, the world became still, memory shapes unmoving, walls silent, the floor steady beneath her feet. Then the shadow fox screamed, without sound, but with feeling, and the cavern cracked back into chaos. The shadow fox's form grew larger, sharper, hungrier. Leora stumbled back as the ground split. The light from her pebble flickered. The creature lunged again. Then a voice echoed inside her mind. "Do not let it touch the dawnlight." Leora froze. The crystal fox lifted its head. The voice came from it, not spoken but felt. The fox warned her. The shadow fed on brightness. Her pebble burned too brightly. "But I can't fight without it," she said. "Not fight. Guide." The fox whispered. The shadow fox attacked again. Leora rolled, losing grip on the pebble. Skidded away, dimming. She lunged, grabbed it, and a memory burst through her. A vision unfolded. A black sky at the world's beginning. The crystal fox walked alone, carrying a shard of white gold light, placed the fragment into the sky. Color spilled over the world, and behind it stood a shadow, silent, obedient, nameless. For ages it followed without hunger, until fear awakened in the fox, fear of losing the dawn, and the shadow learned need. The vision shattered. The fox pressed its forehead to Leora's hand. "The shadow was once only a companion, but now it wants to become you," Leora whispered. The shadow fox grew stronger. If it swallowed the dawnlight, the world outside would fade beyond color or memory. Leora pressed the pebble to her heart, pulsed warm. The crystal fox placed its paw on her knee. She stepped forward. The shadow fox halted in confusion. For once it was unsure. "It does not know its name," the crystal fox said. "Without a name, it knows no shape but hunger." The shadow fox shifted wildly, searching for form. Leora whispered, "A shadow shouldn't be nameless." She approached, kneeling. "You deserve a name." The cavern held its breath. "Astri," she whispered, "the one who walks between light." The shadow stilled, almost peaceful. Then the far wall cracked open. Something older entered the realm. Cold, formless, feeding on light itself. "What is that?" Leora asked. "The darkness before shadow." The crystal fox trembled. "It awakens when dawnlight is touched." Astri, newly named, stood protectively before Leora as the walls collapsed. Then the darkness surged. Astri lunged at the void. The realm buckled. The pebble flared painfully bright. A crack opened in the swirling sky. For a moment, color returned to the real world. Pale gold on the horizon, blue on the river, green in the leaves. Colors. They're waking. But Astri was being pulled into the darkness. "No!" Leora cried. She held the crystal fox tightly and raised the pebble. "Help me save him." The light answered. The cavern exploded in blue gold. Astri howled. The world split apart, and everything dissolved into light. For a long moment, there was nothing. No cavern, no fox, no shadow. Just light, soft, endless, white gold light, stretching in all directions. Leora floated in it like a leaf on a still pond. She tried to move her hands and couldn't tell if she had hands at all. She tried to breathe and realized she felt no air. Yet she was not suffocating. There was no up or down, only light. "Am I gone?" she whispered, though her lips did not move. The question trembled through the radiance like a small ripple. A voice answered from everywhere at once. Asterisk, not gone. Asterisk. She knew that voice. "Crystal fox?" she asked softly. The light shivered. A small shape, made of frost and glass, stepped gently out of the brightness. Its body was clearer now, less fragile. its facets catching countless colors that were not yet fully formed. You stood between shadow and the darkness before shadow, the fox said, its words still entering her mind rather than her ears. Asterisk, the realm broke. You fell into the space underneath. Asterisk, the space underneath? Asterisk, where color goes when it is forgotten. Asterisk, Leora's chest ached. So this is where our world's colors are? The fox's crystalline ears tilted. Asterisk, some of them, it replied. Asterisk, some are still clinging to memory above. But many have fallen here, waiting. Asterisk, Leora looked around. As the light dimmed slightly, she began to notice faint shapes within it. Floating threads, shimmering petals, tiny sparks drifting slowly like lanterns in distant fog. Each spark held a hue she recognized by feeling more than sight. Warm gold like dawn on the village roofs. Deep blue like the river at dusk. Soft green like moss after rain. Laughter red. Story purple. Home brown. Colors wrapped in feeling. Can we send them back? She whispered. The crystal fox's tail stirred the light. If you can carry them, it answered gently. Asterisk, if your heart doesn't break under the weight. Asterisk. Leora looked down. She still clutched the pebble. Only now it was no longer small. It had grown, stretched, softened. It looked more like a tiny, sleeping heart of glass, pulsing with blue-gold light. She closed her fingers around it. It helped me before, she murmured. It can help me again. The fox watched her silently for a long moment. There is more you must see first, it said. The light rippled. The space shifted. And Leora fell gently into another vision. She stood at the edge of a different forest now. A younger world, where color still touched every leaf and every stone. Above her, stars shimmered in an endless tapestry of violet and silver. The crystal fox walked alone under those stars, paws sinking softly into moss that glowed emerald in the starlight. Its dawnlight burned bright in its chest, a shard of white gold warmth. Behind it, the shadow followed. Not monstrous, not hungry, just attached. A companion bound by shape. The fox stopped beside a lake and watched the sky reflected in its surface. The reflection was perfect. So perfect that Leora's heart ached just to look at it. What if I lose this? The fox's silent thought trembled through the vision. The shadow stirred. Lose? It echoed. The light, the fox thought. Asterisk, the colors. If anything ever takes them away, the world will not know how to remember. Asterisk. The shadow shivered. Fear seeped into the fox's crystalline body. Fear of endings. Fear of forgetting. Fear of being left alone in a dark, silent world. To protect the world, the fox did the only thing it understood. It began quietly taking small colors away. A bit of blue here, a sliver of gold there, a red petal, a green hill, not all at once. Not enough for people to notice, just enough to keep safe, hidden deep in its den, where nothing could touch them. The shadow watched. The more the fox took, the more fear grew. The more fear grew, the more hunger stirred in the shadow. One night, the fox gathered too much. It carried its hoarded fragments down into the hollow mirror den. As it curled around them, trembling, its dawnlight flared so bright that the shadow was forced to the edge of its form. Something inside it snapped. Hunger poured out. Not hatred, not cruelty, just need. If you take everything from the world, the shadow thought, there will be nothing left to warm you. It reached for the stored colors. The fox pushed back, terrified. They struggled. Light against darkness. Loneliness against hunger. Fear against fear. And the world above began to fade. Leora's heart broke as she watched them fight. Two halves of the same being, tearing the world to protect or to survive. Stop, she whispered to the memory. You were both just scared. But the vision did not change. It never did, because the past had already happened. The light dimmed, the scene dissolved, and Leora was once more in the colorless brightness between realms, standing beside the crystal fox. So that's how it started, she said quietly. You took the colors to protect them. The shadow tried to take them back so you wouldn't be alone. and everything broke. The fox sat, curling its tail around its paws. "We did not know how to ask for help," it replied. Asterisk, "We only knew how to keep and to take." Asterisk, Leora knelt before it. "You do now." She placed a hand over her heart. "The only way this ends is if you and your shadow stop fighting," she said. "You can't erase fear by eating light, and you can't protect the world by locking its colors away." The fox's crystalline eyes glimmered with reflected fragments. "The darkness before shadow has awakened," it reminded her. Asterisk, "It wants all light. Not color. Not sound. Not memory. Everything." Asterisk. Leora thought of the crack in the sky, the void pressing into the realm. Astri being torn toward it. Her chest tightened. "Is Astri gone?" she whispered. The fox's tail flickered sadly. Asterisk, "Not yet. But if we do nothing, he will be devoured. And with him, the last doorway between color and darkness." Asterisk. Colors drifted around them like slow-falling stars. Leora closed her fingers around the glass heart pebble. "Then we don't do nothing," she said. "We go back. We bring Astri with us. And we show the darkness that it is not the only thing that knows how to be empty." The fox tilted its head. Asterisk, "How?" Asterisk. Leora smiled faintly, though her throat felt tight. "By reminding it that emptiness is not the same as peace." She lifted the pebble. Blue-gold light flared, pulling the falling colors toward it. They brushed her skin, each one entering her like a soft memory. The taste of summer fruit. The warmth of a fire in winter. The warmth of a fire in winter. The sound of rain on a roof. The comfort of a mother's arms. Tears slid down her cheeks. It hurt carrying them, but it also healed something inside her she hadn't known was broken. She could feel the weight of them, the world's colors. Not all of them, but enough. "Take some," she whispered to the fox. Shook its head. Asterisk, "You are the one who walked into shadow for us. The colors chose you. We will walk beside you." Asterisk. She nodded slowly. "Then, take me back." The fox stepped closer. Its forehead touched the hand holding the glass heart. The light burst, and the world turned inside out. Sound returned first. Not fully, not clearly, but as muffled thunder and distant rushing. Then came weight, the feeling of ground beneath her knees. Cold stone. Cracked. Trembling. Leora opened her eyes. She was back in the hollow mirror den. The cavern shook. Fractures ran along the walls like black lightning. The swirling void of the darkness before shadow pressed in from a ragged tier overhead, leaking tendrils of absence. Astri hung near the center of the chamber, half swallowed by shadow darkness, body flickering. "Astri!" Leora shouted. Her voice echoed, really echoed. Sound existed here again. The shadow fox's head lifted weakly. Its white eyes widened when it saw her. Leora stood, every muscle aching. The crystal fox beside her shivered, but did not step back. The glass heart in Leora's hand burned with the warmth of 1,000 remembered things. The darkness before shadow surged. It had no eyes, no face, no shape, just a pull. A hungry, dragging pull that tugged at everything that dared to glow. The cavern dimmed. Even the crystal fox's body flickered. Leora gritted her teeth. "No," she whispered. She took a step forward. The pull intensified. The glass heart shuddered in her hand, wanting to fly free, wanting to join the void where nothing could hurt it. Colors inside it trembled. Fear rose in her chest, sharp, cold, suffocating. "What if I can't do this?" she thought. "What if all I do is feed it more light?" A weak echo brushed her mind. "Astri, you gave me a name," the shadow whispered. Asterisk, "You can do more than you think." Asterisk. Leora exhaled slowly. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving anyway. She took another step. "I know what you are," Leora said to the looming void. Her voice trembled yet carried further than she expected. "You are what comes before light. The quiet, the blank page, the empty canvas." The darkness writhed. The pull increased, yanking at the colors in her palm. A strand of gold slipped free, ripping through the air toward the void. Leora flinched. "That's all you were meant to be," she continued, forcing the words out. "A space for things to begin. A rest between breaths." The darkness shivered. "But someone left you alone too long," she whispered. "And you forgot you weren't supposed to take. You were only supposed to make room." She lifted the glass heart. The pull became a scream. The colors inside it blazed, straining against the void. The crystal fox stepped forward to her left. Astri, still half-trapped, strained toward her from the right. Two halves of the same being. One of light, one of shadow, and Leora between them, holding the world's memory in her hand. "If you want emptiness," she said softly, "I'll give you some." She opened her other hand, held it out, palm up, empty. "This is emptiness," she whispered. "A place waiting to be filled. It doesn't steal. It doesn't drag. It doesn't hurt." The darkness shuddered. The pull faltered just a fraction. Leora closed her eyes and thought of silence that rested instead of erased. Night that held the stars instead of swallowing them. Shadow that cooled but never consumed. She let that idea flow into her empty hand. Warmth gathered there, a quiet kind of dark. Peaceful. Still. The void hesitated. It recognized itself not in hunger, but in origin. "Take this," Leora whispered. "Not our colors. Not our memories. Take this. A place to rest." Her empty hand glowed with the softest, deepest shade of twilight. A dark that comforted instead of devoured. The void reached. The pull twisted. For one terrifying heartbeat, Leora thought it would drag both hands, and all light with them, into itself. Then, it chose. It sank into her offered emptiness. The pull snapped away from the glass heart. The cavern shook with a final, thunderous crack. Leora staggered, dropping to one knee, both hands burning. One with starlit darkness, one with waking color. Astri fell free from the void, collapsing onto the stone. The tear in the sky sealed itself, edges knitting with the soft tone of a sigh. Silence. Then, color seeped back into the realm. Faint, trembling, real. The crystal fox's fur shimmered bright as dawn. Astri's shadow form softened, its edges no longer jagged but curved, gentle. The memory shapes along the cavern walls brightened, hints of hue returning to their forms. Leora stared at her hands. In one, a small, quiet darkness that no longer pulled. In the other, a heart of glass pulsing with color. She smiled weakly. "We're not finished," she whispered. "But we've started to remember." She looked up toward the roof of the hollow mirror den, where the world above waited. "I think," she said, breathless, "it's time to go home." The hollow mirror den shimmered with the trembling breath of a world trying to return to itself. Colors glimmered faintly along the cracked walls. Memory shapes floated softly, their once gray forms glowing with emerging hues. Astri lay weak but alive, and the crystal fox stood beside Leora, glowing with dawnlight and fragile hope. Leora looked at her hands. In one, a quiet, peaceful darkness. In the other, a glass heart filled with returning colors. "You carry them both," the crystal fox whispered into her mind. "Only you can lead them back." A beam of light opened above them. Together, Leora, Astri, and the crystal fox stepped into it, rising to the world above. Leora returned to her village. The sky was gray, frozen between night and dawn. The river held no color. Houses, fields, trees, all pale. Her grandmother rushed to her, pulling her close. "You brought light back with you." The villagers gathered. Leora lifted the glass heart. "This belongs to all of us." Soft blue drifted into the air. Gold followed. Green, red. The world breathed. Faces brightened. The river shimmered. Trees glowed once more, but not fully. Something was missing. "The final color," Astri whispered, weak. "The one hidden deepest." The crystal fox stepped forward, his body dimmed. "The last dawnlight is inside me," it said. "It must return." "You'll disappear," Leora whispered. I will change. The fox pressed its forehead to the glass heart. Light erupted, brilliant, white gold. Color washed through the valley. Memories returned. Laughter, music, wind, warmth. The fox's body cracked gently, like a cocoon opening. When the light dimmed, the crystal fox was gone. In its place stood a new being, half light, half shadow. Dawnlight eyes. Astri stepped forward, touched it, and merged. A whole spirit, light and shadow united. Thank you, it whispered. You helped us remember who we were. It turned toward the forest, glowing like morning touching the trees, and walked into the sunlight. Leora stood in the square. Her grandmother smiled through tears. You did it. No, Leora said softly. We did. The glass heart in her palm glowed gently, no longer a burden, but a memory. A breeze brushed her cheek. The first true sunrise kissed the sky, painting the world in gold. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.